younger women on sort of, how they are progressing through adolescence, loneliness, mental health issues. And I do think there is some stuff with boys that we're just like, he's just a boy, he'll be fine. And it's like, well, I don't know. There's a lot of data out there at this point that says they might not be, and I don't want to overanalyze it, but I see it in my own lived experience that it's different than when I was 16 by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely notice more conversation around young women, and to be fair, their diagnosis rates are increasing faster than those of men, but men still have the higher rates overall. And so because we're looking at trend lines for women and not the hard data point, the men just get totally left in the dust, and no one's really talking about their issues.
And I think that one of the things that I've seen, so my 16-year-old is a sophomore in high school, and we're just starting to have the kind of so what's the deal with college conversation? And one thing that's fascinating is you talk to the college counselors at the school is they're like, oh, these schools are desperate for boys. Because, I'm looking at these numbers. 66% of women are enrolled versus 57% of recent male high school graduates. I actually think that is widening. And it's like, that is remarkable to me. That it's like, oh, he's a boy. Well, that could help. I'm like, really? And so, again, I see it playing out. I don't totally know what we do with it. I want to get what you think about this, because one thing I worry a little bit about as a kid who was into reading books. My boys are much more sporty than I was, but into reading books. I worry a little bit about sort of the cultural signaling of Dana White and Theo Von and the kind of gotta be tough, go out there and kick butt. I worry slightly that we're recreating the 1950s male, men never cry. I'm not saying you need to cry at everything, though I do cry at some sad, particularly commercials with little kids in them, those get me. But I do worry a little bit about that, but I don't want to be too namby-pamby about it.
Yeah, I mean, so because you mentioned Theo Von, I'll take him as an example. I watch his podcast a lot. He's actually a very emotional guy.
Okay.
He talks a lot about
because I don't. Yeah. I will admit, I'm using him as sort of a broader manosphere.
Well, and I think the Andrew Tate element of that gets too extreme.
I should have used him. That's
but in the Joe Rogan, Theo Von, Dana White space, I do think you actually see a nice mix of having deep conversations about life and the world, mixed with the comedic aspect, the political aspect, and I think that's why that's so compelling, because it is kind of a space where men can see other men that are masculine, but still getting really deep and digging into a lot of really complex issues. Which
that actually makes
great.
That makes me feel good.
Good.
Because it's and you know what? Is my own ignorance. I think you always have to be very careful of being I've watched one Theo Von thing, the one he did with Trump. So it's I think you have to be careful of being this is bad or this is good if you don't engage with it. Because I do think we live in this society, left and right, where everybody's caricatured. It's oh, that person is bad. Well, when you meet that person and he starts talking about his grandkids, you're is he I always tell people this, one of the nicest people I've ever come into contact in politics, Pat Buchanan. He's
very pleasant.
He is lovely.
Yes.
He'd remember my wife's name, my kids' names, ask me how things are going. Could he help me in any way? And you say Pat Buchanan to a liberal and they're like, pitchfork Pat? I'm I gotta be honest, he's a lovely man.
I love Pat Buchanan.
Yes.
He's wonderful. Look, I think before we go, we have to mention the sort of cultural stigma around that masculinity we were just talking about. The academic obsession with things like toxic masculinity, the idea that that there's a patriarchy, that women are oppressed and men are the oppressors, and they just want to dominate the entire society. I do think that seeps into men's self-awareness and how they view themselves and their place in the world and how we treat them. Exactly. There's a lot of treating men and boys as an afterthought, as disposable, and sometimes even as aggressors that need to be changed or adapted to fit a more feminine conception of how society should operate. That's actually going to do it for us today on Rising. Chris, thanks for being here. Really enjoyed it.
The Trump double thumbs up.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we are now available anywhere you listen to podcasts.